All right, my friends, it's a beautiful day in North Texas. This is RV Shopping Chef here again, and we're now here with a 2021 Newmar 4369 Dutch Star. That will be our coach going forward. And of all things, we had a leak right away on our first shakeout run, a tidal wave of water washing down through the coach. And you get to find out in this video what it was and how we fixed it. And so you're going to be interested in this video. Stay tuned. So what was the story that we had a leak? We were on the way for a shakeout run. Carol kicked on the water pump while we were traveling and said, well, I don't want you to be alarmed, but there's a wave of water washing through the through the coach, and it washed all the way up to the front. And but what was it? And here we're going to find out. And first we were unsure whether it was, you know, the toilet somehow that we had turned on, or whether it was the water line that feeds the slide out here underneath. By the way, that's an interesting collection of ideas. A water line that's inside another line, inside a heated casing that then goes out to the far end of the slide out wall and comes back into the refrigerator. So yeah, interesting thing. But all of that said, it wasn't any of those things. It was really just the water valve on the back of the refrigerator, a low point on the refrigerator that probably froze during the winter. We had done all of the tricks for winterization, but probably didn't zero in on making sure all the water was out of the fridge. So what does that look like? I'm going to get you the part, and here's how you can fix that instead of paying one of your coach manufacturers or repair yards. All right, let's take a look at this piece. Here we are. That is what was left hanging off the water line. The other piece of it is still on the refrigerator, but that's what that should be. And the mission today is that the water line on the back side of the whirlpool is leaking. And so we're going to pull out the whirlpool and find what's going on back there. Step one. Thanks to IRV2 folks, there's a trim strip up here, and it's on with 3 little pin nails on each side. I don't know if you can see the holes there. So pry it off, try not to damage it. Then I removed all the 3 pin nails. One great suggestion I saw on IRV2 was that they said, go ahead and just put a dab of silicone on there when you reinstall it, and that'll hold it in place. You come down to the bottom and you have to remove the wheel cover. All right, so there's the wheel cover down there, right? So what you do here, take a good look at it. You got 3 clips here. There's the wheel cover, 1, 2, 3. And so I literally just wiggled this outward. Let me check. Take the bolts out there that control the bolt down to the metal frame on the bottom there. That's what keeps this thing from moving around. So remove those 2 bolts. There's one there and one over here, right? All right, that's a 3/8 inch ratchet, and that is a 1/2 inch socket. And I'm gonna back that out. Bolt 1 is out, easy peasy. Bolt 2 is out. Okay, here you can see above the refrigerator, 1, 2 screws. Those are holding the refrigerator into its spot. That's like a gripper panel. And so we want, now that we've exposed this piece here, we want to remove those 2 screws to take away. Here's my set of bits. I keep this, I love this tool set. I just pulled out a square bit off of this rack, and I'm gonna try that. Something I've always kept on our coaches. One good small set of impact wrench and drill, thanks to my brother-in-law, John, thank you. And then on top of that, there's a square bit on a long extension, and so that gives me a little better reach back in here. Okay, we're on the screw. Let's get that impact on it. Now you've got 4 more screws. 1, 2 screws there as well. That's what's holding this against that frame with that little pretty trim panel. So we've got to get those 4 out before this refrigerator goes anywhere. And that's the only water on the full wall slide. Here's the new one. I'm going to show you the part number. Let's go here. I'll also put a photograph in the video, and we're going to go put it in now. So let's get to work. And so I'm going to raise the coach up on the left side, on the driver's side, so that we don't have a negative hill to climb to get this refrigerator to roll out. All right, we've got the coach more level. Now what we want to do is get that refrigerator box in here and get it. Here's my floor protector scheme. It will hang on the metal strip that's bolted to the floor, and so you can lift it up over it a little bit and that'll get it over it. I kind of just drag it over it there. There's your supply line loose. Over here the white line. There's the feed line coming out of the existing device. There's your new device. It's going to go on the wall, I believe like this. There's your plug on the top. There's the wall mounting bracket. Up here is your feed line, which we're going to screw in now. And then down here, here's your supply line going over into the refrigerator with the line feeding from the bottom. Here's our feed line. And as you can see, we have an insert. Then we have this little collar and seal. And then there's the retainer nut on top. So what I'm going to do is just take that and feed that right in from the top. Make sure that we're in and mated. See how that mated the collar right up to the threaded top? So that's now looking pretty. We're good and solid. And then I'm just going to run that nut down on the top of it. Now we're looking at the supply line on the bottom. There it sits. I think this has to be pushed in, and then the line is fed in from the bottom. But we do want to connect the electrical. So that's this plug right back here. Alright, we're going to slip him back up inside the wall there and then mount the 2 screws on the outside here to hold him in place. Here's the new unit ready to go. All our lines are on. And we're installing the keeper screws. See, there's your supply sitting back there. So in it comes from the main water pump. There, 1, 2, 3, 4 from the bottom is the refrigerator breaker in this 2021 Dutch Star. So you want that one off when you're working on it. Now that that breaker is on, then we'll close up the breaker cabinet, and the next thing we want to do is kick on the water pump. All right, last step. Before we test the refrigerator, we need to get into the pass-through cabinet. There we are. And you'll remember that the slide, full wall slide, has a water feed here. Now that is what cuts off the water to this water line here that moves out the side of the coach when the slide out's out and right up through to this connection. Now I'm going to reseal that, but I was checking that to see if that's where my leak was. So we need to foam or something that to get it to seal up. Look at that. Okay. So that's the good news. Now let's look down here for any runs, drips, or errors. I see no drips, no leaks. So if you winterize your coach, and when you unwinterize, you have water leaking on the floor coming from your refrigerator, or draining somewhere down into the bottom of the coach, don't jump on the heated water line in the basement first. Come up here and check this. And the next question will be, how do we guarantee that when we winterize, we get all the water? Now we need to get the refrigerator back in on top of these two panels and then bolt it down. But my goal is to make sure that these two tracks stay down so they don't get bent as the refrigerator walks back on. Not sure I really like the way that's behaving. But yeah, we'll try to hold those down and then work the refrigerator back up on top of them. All right, here's my fix. I'm going to take two little pieces of Durabond tape, and I'm going to tape this down right here. All right, now I have both sides taped up. You can see the refrigerator, those metal slats. So that's going to be my suggestion. Hopefully the electrical cord, now this electrical cord has some slack in it, so as we pull it in, probably the right thing to do is to make sure it doesn't get pinched, walk the refrigerator in, and then go under the drawer on the dinette and pull the slack in on that electrical cord periodically as you start bringing the fridge in. Going back in is a lot easier. All right, she rolled right on in. You can see our tape trick there, wheels rolled right over it. Now go ahead and put in the 4 screws at the top of the refrigerator. There's number 3 started. Just make sure you position the fridge so you can get them all in. By the way, I have this big extension on my drill. I just can't tell you how handy that's been. Here we are. Alright, okay. You look up inside there. There's your 2 screws on the right and 2 screws on the left. And then we have a trim plate to go up there, which I'll put up next. Here's your trim plate, kind of blonde wood, just to cover the screw mechanisms that hold the refrigerator into the... Here's the second trim plate screw. You can see the trim plate there, the 2 screws that hold it in place. That makes it all prettier. And so, the good piece of advice I saw in one of the other YouTube videos is to use just a couple of dabs of silicone. To install the bottom valance, it covers up the wheels and all of that. There are 3 buttons on the bottom. You'll need to bend the plastic tabs to make sure they align with the buttons, and then press them over the buttons. There's your bottom valance on. Before we close up shop, we've got our water pump on. We've got the refrigerator installed. We still have that top plate to go. We need a caulk gun. And then let's just see what we have in terms of water. There's the water. Look at that. Works perfectly. We have no water on the floor. There's no water running through the coach. And so this project is a success. And so if you have this kind of thing, you have water in your coach, you're not sure what it was, you've got this, I think probably from an 18 Dutch Star up, you'll see a similar setup. But there's the Whirlpool fridge, and it does have water in the door. The only water line on the full wall slide is the insulated water line on this one that goes out to the slide. And so you'll need a winterized process that makes sure that that refrigerator supply valve does not have water in it. But for now, I'd call this another successful project, and I'll just say for the chef and the shop, shuss, and we'll see you on the next video.